Did you know that behind Darth Vader's menacing mask and imposing armor, there was a man who suffered from constant pain and discomfort? That's right, Vader's suit was not only a life support system, but also a torture device that kept him in constant agony and misery. In this video, we'll explore why Darth Vader's suit was so painful to wear, why he didn't upgrade it, and how he used the pain to fuel his dark side powers. Let's get started. Darth Vader's suit was designed by Emperor Palpatine and his personal physician, Silo, after Vader was severely injured by Obi-Wan Kenobi on Mustafar. The suit consisted of several components, each with its own function and drawback. The helmet was a two-piece design that covered Vader's entire head and neck. It had a neural interface that connected to his brain, and also included a nutrient feeding tube. The helmet was also where his iconic and booming voice was processed and projected. It was locked onto the collar of his armor with a magnetic seal, making it impossible to remove without special tools. The helmet was also very heavy and tight, causing Vader constant headaches and claustrophobia. The chest plate was a metal piece that protected Vader's vital organs and housed his life support systems. It had a control panel that monitored his vital signs and regulated his breathing, heartbeat, and temperature. It also had a power cell that supplied energy to his suit and his cybernetic limbs. The chest plate was very bulky and rigid, limiting his mobility and flexibility. The armor was a black Durasteel suit that covered Vader's torso, arms, and legs. It had several layers of padding, insulation, and sensors that protected him from extreme temperatures, shocks, and impacts. It also had a cape and a skirt that concealed his cybernetic limbs and added to his intimidating appearance. The armor was very heavy and uncomfortable, weighing him down and chafing his skin. The respirator was the device that allowed Vader to breathe after the extensive smoke damage done to his lungs following the duel on Mustafar. It helped to intake and vent air to his sensitive lungs, giving him his iconic breathing sound, but also making any physical strain much more difficult, never allowing him to truly rest or sleep. The cybernetics were artificial limbs and organs that replaced Vader's lost or damaged body parts. His prosthetic arms and legs were attached to his torso with metal rods and wires. He also had a cybernetic heart, lungs, and spine that were implanted in his chest cavity. The cybernetics were very crude and painful, causing him constant inflammation, infection, and rejection. They also had limited sensory feedback, making him feel numb and disconnected from his own body. So you might be wondering, why didn't Darth Vader upgrade his suit to make it more comfortable and efficient? After all, he was one of the most powerful and influential figures in the galaxy, and he had access to advanced technology and resources. Well, there are several reasons why Vader didn't upgrade his suit, and they all have to do with his master, Emperor Palpatine. Palpatine wanted to keep Vader weak and dependent on him. He knew that Vader was a potential threat to his rule, and he wanted to prevent him from ever overthrowing him. By keeping him in a painful and inferior suit, he ensured that Vader would never reach his full potential and would always need his guidance and approval. Palpatine also wanted to manipulate Vader's emotions and loyalty. He knew that Vader was driven by anger, hatred, and fear, and he exploited those feelings to control him. By keeping him in a painful and inferior suit, he amplified his negative emotions and made him more susceptible to the dark side of the Force. In Legends material, Vader was actually given the opportunity to upgrade his suit, which would have given him the speed of Anakin Skywalker and the strength of a battle droid. However, he decided against the upgrade as this procedure was risky and possibly would have led to his death, and because he wanted to keep his suit as a reminder to himself of all the evil things he had done, as well as to keep him in constant agony, deepening his connection to the dark side. Darth Vader hated everything about his suit, including the fact that the medical droids that rebuilt him after the duel on Mustafar used an inferior alloy, causing strips of his prosthetic limbs to snag on his bodysuit, and he could barely even kneel when speaking to the Emperor. The boots of his armor were also raised at the heel, making it difficult to balance, so he had to call in the Force just to even walk. He also couldn't lift his arms above his head, forcing him to change his lightsaber dueling style. He hated the sound of his breathing. He found it loud and annoying, and it reminded him of his dependence on his suit and his master. He also hated that it made him easily recognizable and predictable, and that it prevented him from speaking naturally and expressing his emotions. Lastly, he hated the sight of his suit. He found it grotesque and ugly, and it reminded him of his loss and his transformation. He also hated that it made him monstrous and feared, and that it prevented him from seeing his own face and the faces of his loved ones with his own eyes. One thing Darth Vader didn't have to worry about though was online privacy, and he's lucky for it too. Have you ever Googled your name and seen what information about you is out there? Recently I did, and it disgusted me how much of my personal information was readily available for whoever wanted to find out who I was or even where I lived. And that's because there are companies out there called data brokers who sell your information to anyone who might want it. That's right, your full name, your email, your address, even your health records, it's all for sale. That's why I've been using Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura is an online security service that helps you take back control of your personal information. They show you exactly which data brokers have your information and then automatically fight back for you, submitting opt-out requests to get your data off the market. And let's face it, Data breaches are happening all the time. Remember that huge AT&T leak where millions of customer records were exposed? Scary stuff. The advice they gave was to use strong passwords, monitor accounts, and maybe even freeze your credit. Sounds like a lot of work, right? Well, Aura does all of that for you. It's like having a personal security team on duty 24/7, constantly monitoring and protecting your information. No more juggling a million different apps. Aura keeps everything simple and secure. Look, just like you, I value my privacy, and I know you value yours too. That's why I highly recommend checking out Aura. They're even offering a free 2-week trial so you can see for yourself how easy it is to take control of your online security. Just head over to aura.com/RocketRiley. You won't regret it. There's also a link in the description below if you want to learn more. Again, that's aura.com/RocketRiley. Thanks again to Aura for sponsoring this video. As I mentioned before, one of the reasons why Palpatine kept Vader in a painful and inferior suit was to keep him weak and control him. Palpatine did this in several ways. He limited Vader's access to medical care and maintenance. He only allowed him to use a basic medical capsule and a standard maintenance droid, and he restricted his visits to the few facilities that he approved. He also sabotaged his suit and his cybernetics, making them malfunction and deteriorate over time. He limited Vader's access to information and communication, only allowing him to use a secure and encrypted channel, and he monitored and censored his transmissions. He also isolated him from his allies and his enemies, making him unaware and paranoid. Lastly, he limited Vader's access to power and authority. He only allowed him to command a small fraction of the Imperial forces, and he undermined and overruled his decisions. He also challenged and humiliated him in front of his subordinates and his rivals, making him insecure and resentful. Despite all the disadvantages and drawbacks of his suit, Vader found a way to use it to his advantage. He used the pain to make his connection to the dark side of the Force even stronger. He embraced the pain. He accepted it as a part of his existence and his destiny, and he used it as a source of motivation and determination. He also used it as a weapon and a shield, channeling it into his attacks and his defenses. At times, he even amplified the pain. He deliberately exposed himself to more pain and suffering, and he refused to take any medication or relief. He also inflicted pain on others, especially those who opposed or betrayed him. Lastly, he transcended the pain. He learned to detach himself from his physical sensations and his emotional attachments, and he focused on his mental and spiritual aspects. He achieved a state of calm and clarity, where he could perceive the Force more clearly and manipulate it more effectively. He also achieved a state of rage and power, where he could unleash his full potential and overwhelm all of his enemies. So if it were up to you, what upgrades would you have given to Vader's armor? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.